Hello, folks. I hope you all are doing good, and I guess you all are ready as well. And let's get started. Today, I'm gonna speak about this topic how customer journey mapping can improve docs and customer experience. And today, we have this agenda where first I'll be starting with my introduction, then, we will talk about what is journey mapping and we will deep dive into it. Then we'll have a look at a sample journey map, and further we will talk about its benefits and mistake to avoid, and then we'll wrap this session. So, before we get started with what is journey mapping, I would like to introduce myself. So, this is Priya, and I'm a final year undergraduate engineering student from India. I write docs for organizations to make the life of developers and other community members easy. I began my open source journey during my second year of college, and I have been part of few amazing communities like Google Developer Student Club and Girls Script Foundation. When I keep my professional life aside, I spend most of my time reading books and doing some oil painting. And here is my experience. I got introduced to the Fedora community when I began my open source contributions. I started contributing to two of their articles for Fedora magazine, and later I got this opportunity as a technical writer intern at Red Hat. I got to know about customer journey mapping during this internship when I was working on the product named Red Hat OpenShift Data Science. And later, I became part of Google's Season of Docs program under Nimble Edge community. And currently, I'm working as a technical writer intern at HackerRank. Here are few tips which help me to grab these opportunities as a technical writer intern. I used to update my resume very frequently, and I also made sure to add all the links to the blogs that I have worked on. I used to update my GitHub profile as well, as that was the only source of proof for my contribution in docs. I agree that convincing skills are definitely required, as because I have been through a lot of situation in interviews where I wasn't familiar with the particular tech stack, and the interviewer was expecting some basic knowledge on that. We should always be interview ready, and technical writing life cycle is the most important question that I have been asked in every interview that I have faced. Moving forward, here comes the question, what is customer journey mapping? So, customer journey mapping walks us through the stages that the customer goes through while interacting with the product. The purpose of journey mapping is to understand what customers experience and improve the quality, ensuring consistency and a seamless experience at all touch points and across all channels. There is no substitution for listening to customers about how the steps in the journey are working out for them. Journey maps are research based tools which design team use to reveal typical customer experiences over time and visualize the many dimensions and factors involved. These enable brand to learn more about target users. Team members examine tasks and questions regarding how a design meets or fails to meet customers' needs over time when they encounter a product or a service. Therefore, these maps should be detail rich timelines that show the most important subtasks and events. Over this timeline framework, you add insights of what customers think and feel when proceeding along the timeline. When I talk about the customer journey mapping for project documentation, it helps us in identifying the pain points, additional features, and the changes in the docs that they are looking forward from us. Here are some of the elements that we're going to talk about. First is research and set a clear objective. One of the best things you can do before diving into your customer journey map is to have a clear idea of what you and your team wish to accomplish by creating one. What sort of information are you hoping to gather and how you will use it? What insights do you hope to gain? Setting these goals early on can help ensure your efforts are not wasted and you are accurately portraying the customer journey. Much of the information you will use to create a customer journey map will come from your customer personas. Since a single organization can have many different customer profiles, you will need to decide whether you want your map to reflect multiple buyer personas in one, the majority or most prevalent persona, or if you will create an individual map for each target customer. To create accurate personas, you'll have to gather feedback directly from your customers as well as from customer analytics. You can gather data by conducting customer surveys and questionnaires, or you can have some in person interviews with them. You can have a user testing with your product, or you can interview employees with customer facing positions. We can run a Google Analytics report, or we can also gather analytics from website and social media. Be sure to focus on people that actually have interest in your services or have used your product before. Here are some good questions to seek answers for. What problem drove the customer to your company? Was the docs and tools easy to navigate? What competitors did they research? What differentiated your product from the others? What made them decide to or not to choose your product? And what do they hope to achieve when interacting with your company? Now that you have the stages of your customer journey map defined, you can list each touch point the customer will have within each stage. A touch point in each time your customer interacts with some aspect of your brand, whether it be your company website, an advertisement, an online review, purchasing and using your services, or contacting customer support. Brainstorm all the different ways your customer can interact with your brand and note what action points they take for each one. Be sure to think outside the box. Things like word of mouth or an email confirmation can be a touch point as well. When I talk about the emotions, there are many different ways to map emotions, thoughts, and motivations your customer has when interacting with your services. You can include section for quotes from in-person interviews and online reviews, or include a section to list stats from surveys and questionnaires. You can also use emojis or pictures to relate feedback from user testing, or even use rating system and color codes that represent customers emotions at each stage. So each stage of the customer journey is vital for every department. And here are some of the important requirements to map customer journeys very effectively. We'll be talking about each and every point. First comes the customer journey begins when a customer asks about a product or a service. At that time, they become a prospect. The comparison stage is where customers use readily available information about different products in any given market to compare the features, pricing, customer service ratings, and so on. The purchase stage is when the prospect becomes a customer, which then triggers the service department to begin the final phase, that is installation. There are important requirements to map the journeys effectively. First is focus on customer perspective. The journey map needs to focus on how a customer experiences interactions, not how the company perceives those experiences. Second is account for customer segments. account for the fact that different customer segments experience products, brands, and services differently. Third is research your map. Use tools such as customer analytics to develop your maps to best reflect your constituencies and their likely behavior. Fourth is ensure that map reflects all touch points. Maps must reflect all potential communication points through which customer want to connect with companies, email, text, websites, social media platforms, and so on. Maps must also reflect different sequences for these maps in which customer takes different paths. When designing a customer journey map, there is no set protocol, but there are definitely guidelines for it, including that it should be visually appealing, comprehensive, and understandable. Typical customer journey maps include infographics, diagrams, and timelines. Multimedia have also been used for a customer journey map, including videos and storyboards. The information included on the map should have both statistical and anecdotal insight and should be customer facing as well. So here are some of the best journey mapping tools. So first is Miro, and we have Salesforce Journey Builder, we have Smaply, we have Canvanizer, and we have Lucid Chat. My personal favorite recommendations are Miro and Lucid Chat as well. So here comes the most important question, who performs journey mapping and why? Usually, design teams use customer journey maps to see how customer experiences meet their expectations and find areas where they need to improve design. But when it comes to docs, technical writers are the one who conduct these workshops to identify the flaws and the new topics to focus on. Moving forward, here we have something to look at hands on, which I have already done, and we'll be having a look at the sample journey mapping templates that I have worked. So, in order to conduct the workshop, categorize the maps on the basis of personas and ask the workshop attendees to paste these sticky notes on what they think about that particular step in the entire process. Allocate specific time and let them discuss. After each particular step, it is a good idea to hear each opinions individually. This step is repetitive for the entire process, and finally ask them to map their emotions along with the feedback of the workshop. So here we have a person, David, who is a technical writer, and he has been assigned a new project which is related to data science. Hence, he is preparing documentation for the project. So before deep diving into writing docs, he first wishes to install the Jupyter notebook and make himself familiar with the process of executing his projects. Moving forward, here are some of the action items that we can take care during the workshop. We can copy a sticky note and write the action items which we can do or wish to do. We can also vote for the favorite ideas with stars and other emojis. We can circle or mark up any promising ideas, and we can also drag the photos under the action items to make people identify that okay, that sticky note was yours and it was your idea. And moving forward, this is the final and not so detailed journey map. I have added all the steps, thoughts, and feelings David may go through while accessing the docs and executing the installation process of Notebook. As you all can see, the journey steps which I have mentioned is first, David gonna look for docs to know about the installation process. Then he'll try to start downloading the Jupyter notebook. Then he will try to install it. Later, he will get familiar with the Jupyter Notebook UI and then he'll start executing his projects. Below, I have mentioned his feeling and experiences at every step. So, when he was looking for dogs, he had a very spectacular experience. His experience was good, even his downloading experience of good. But while moving forward, while installing, David ran into some issues, and due to which he started feeling very annoying. And later, when he was getting familiar with Jupyter Notebook, he was not so satisfied with that particular step. And when he started executing his projects, he faced much more issues. So below, I have mentioned few of the thoughts that David has experienced. So getting started section of docs was good, and later file was not too large, so his downloading experience was also good. That process was very quick as well. Later, when he was trying to install it, he ran into some issues during installation. And one thing which he has identified is there was no proper FAQ, nor he could find some solution to problem to the docs. Moving forward, it was difficult for him to execute project as he was a beginner and there was no proper docs for any new tools. Moving forward, he has this suggestion that docs could be improved. And below, I have mentioned some of the teams that have been involved. So, for the first step, technical writing team and the content strategist team were the one which were involved in this particular process. Moving forward, this downloading and installation steps, these all are taken care of developers and QE teams at the backend. When I talk about the benefits, customer journey mapping usually helps in identifying the pain points of the customers, and whether they are liking it or they are not liking it, and is this a feature a good fit or is it not making any sense. We can also work on the customer feedback. We can look for improvements in docs, and we can also work on new features for the product. So here comes the question, who is the correct person who should be involved in this journey mapping workshop? So, what I think is the people who are being involved in the workshop must have some basic understanding of the product. Along with that, developers, product managers, technical writers must be involved along with the team. This is the most important point that I would like to mention is the team which interacts with the customers frequently are the most important person who must be involved in this workshop. Moving forward, when I talk about the common problems that we face during the workshop, one is dealing with and lack of customer data. Data is the most important factor. When we deal with huge number of data, it becomes very difficult for us to manage. And on the other hand, if we lack customer data, then even it becomes very difficult to handle it. And other point is journey maps are something which are not static. Those needs to be updated very frequently because the new features we work on, the new changes that we make to the docs are something which are not static. Hence, in the similar way, journey maps are even not static. Moving forward, failing to involve necessary departments. When working in an organization, we have hundreds and hundreds of different departments. So, when we conduct an workshop, it becomes very difficult to add 50 to 100 people in the workshop and managing them. So, we need to make sure that we involve all the necessary departments that whose presence can make a difference in the workshop. Moving forward, when I talk about the mistakes that we need to avoid during the workshop, there should be proper time management, and the time allocation for different sections must be allocated on the basis of proper planning. And journey mapping is something that deals with customer itself. Hence, we should be maintaining a proper communication with them to know about their pain points. And journeys must be mapped on the basis of customer perspective and not on the basis of company's perspective. And finally, there must be a proper content strategy to decide what fits where and how this gonna benefit the customers. And that's it. We are done. And thank you for participating. And I hope you all will have a great day ahead. And I have this final suggestion that each and everyone should try conducting this journey mapping workshops. And I assure you that you will see great results. And thank you.
Welcome both of you to the Q&A, and thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Early AM in varying degrees. We did get some questions posed in the chat, so I'd like to dive straight in. And I think I might start actually with some questions that were asked for you, Hari, if that's all right. You were mentioning some good tools for journey mapping, and you went with you suggested that Miro and Lucidchart were really good ones to use. Why do you find those ones to be particularly good compared to some of the other ones that are out there at the moment?
I literally spent a good time with these tools for approx 6 months, and I love the user experience they provide, especially the Miro. It is very easy to navigate, and especially the journey mapping. This is something which is done usually in offline mode in person, but this is the thing, due to this COVID situation, everything is going online, and the user experience, especially which Miro is providing, I never felt like I'm doing something online. So maybe that is the reason I'm totally in love with Miro and Lucidchart.
And it was a Miro screenshot that was in your presentation, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes,
Yeah, it
yes.
does look pretty nice. I mean, there's different tools out there for everyone, but it's good to have sort of a bit of, lived experience with tools when you're doing this sort of stuff, particularly if you're just starting out. You can sort of hit the ground running a bit, right?
Yeah.
Right, that's very good. Now, one question that Cameron asked, thanks for posing the question, Cameron, is there's so much good information that you had in your presentation about journey mapping there, Hari. Is there a place that people can go as almost like an authoritative place to learn more about journey mapping?
Yeah, sure. So whatever points I have listed in my presentation, those were solely based on my experience as an intern. And coming to this articles, I think we have a lot of stuff in Google. We can just go and search for journey mapping, where we can see how different companies, almost every company implements journey mapping. So we can see how different companies are working on this process, what is their methodology, and how it is different from ours. So yeah, there are a lot of resources available online.
Oh, great. All right.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, with the, in the before times, we used to do journey mapping a lot in person, but since COVID has changed everything, how have you found the shift to more online ways of doing journey mapping with customers? Have you found it to be easier or more difficult, or?
To be honest, that was my first time experience working on journey mapping. I mean, when I was doing my internship at Red Hat, though I was appointed as a technical writer, but I was appointed to work on something which was related to user experience. So that was a bit challenging for me. And I solely don't have an experience working on offline in person mappings. So my experience was with online itself. But it was really good. If I get a chance to do it in the in person as well, maybe the process will be almost the same what we did in offline, I mean online mode. So there is not much difference, which I feel.
Oh, very good. No, that's very good. All right. I think we might head over to some questions for you now, Lana, if that's all right. The one from Cameron here was, will you actually have all the information in your slides available to folks who want to learn more? Because there were some really good links and sort of information you had in there.
Yes, is that the question? this is more like if you want to go somewhat deeper in some of the areas, because you like can't probably like the goal of my speech was not to like eager you to dig deeper into each like thing. Maybe you're not still like following this practice that strict. So it's just more like if you are interested in some particular area, it's not always like it should be about technical writing, but maybe you're doing some learning for yourself. Because neurophysiology is also helps, for example, if you're learning something and you want to understand better how you can, as an adult, learn. So yeah, you can follow some particular path to know a bit more. Some works are well known and some are, I think, less known and more specific to the like, for example, in neurophysiology. So
Right.
yeah.
I understand. Yeah. I think one other question, and it was one for me actually, about the whole idea of cognitive load. It's something we try and balance, I think, as technical writers a lot, and sometimes it's hard to work out, potentially from an information architecture perspective, where the sweet spot is with when you're preparing a tutorial about how many procedures you should have or procedural blocks you should have on a page. What are your thoughts about that balancing act? And have you got any insights that perhaps are backed up with more from a scientific perspective about where that sweet spot lies?
There is actually two separate points in this. When you are preparing a tutorial, as I'm said in the start of the talk, you should set a learning goal, which is like not our thing, which is go from undergoing to theory of learning, but it's quite, I think, pretty natural that you want the user to reach some goal, and it also should be measurable and repeatable. So, for example, I want them, after completing this tutorial, that they should be able to write a small piece of code that doing something like an API call, for example. This is measurable, so they should apply the same like procedure set of steps to their case, or repeat the same case that I, for example, describing in the tutorial. And it should be repeatable, like they should be able to do it a few times without distracting from it. And from the perspective of the cognitive load, like we should at the same time need to make sure that we are not overloading a person. So, for example, in cognitive theory, they have like a privilege to measure it with some metrics, like they're using physical metrics. They can actually, the most simpler like one is to just ask someone to evaluate the difficulty, which we actually can do, like with some user interviews or with getting some feedbacks. But actually the scientists, they have more, they can measure things like speech rate, typing speed, eye movement, and all that. We can do that, I believe, yes. But on the user interview, maybe yes, but I don't think like anyone does that. But I think that speaking about how many procedures it should be, whenever it allows the user to reach his learning goal, like if they unable to reach the learning goal, that will be repeatable and measurable, you should put all the procedures there. The one thing I should warn you is, like, in tutorial, we should not describe a few ways to do the same thing, because we just want the user follow like very smooth flow, like they are just going from nothing to something. They should, like, it should be some result in the end, which is the same that we have stated in the learning objective, that if this particular set of steps, or if this particular step complies the learning goal, it should be there. But if it's like describing doing the same action in a different way, it should not be there. because it's just distracting, and you can do, like, it's more like of how to or something like that, because tutorial should be like, full formed and repeatable on their own. I
think I understand what you're saying there. It sounds like you recommend that we need to be really opinionated when we're writing tutorials, and this is how you do it, and don't go off this path because there'd be dragons over there. You don't want to go there.
Yeah.
Yep, that sounds pretty reasonable. And we've actually got another one that's another 2 questions that have flooded in. Thanks for everyone for being inspired to put them in after the fact. So Chris asks, how do you ensure the principles that you mentioned are consistently applied across the doc sets?
Oh, that's a nice one. Actually, I think not maybe for all the things that I've mentioned. Of course, I haven't mentioned a lot of other practices and theories that we can lean on, but I think most of them, at least like the learning goal one, the parallel constructions, the templates, of course, the sentence lengths, and the like 7 plus minus 2, we can check it with the linter. For example, I can imagine like Veil linter has a syntax to check the appearance of the elements of a certain order, like going. There is a set of rules called sequences, so you can write which, and you can even check the which part of speech you are putting in the sequence. So I think like you can use linters. They're quite, they have quite simple syntax, which you can actually implement your own rules there. And there are plenty of like ready to use industry respected style guides, which are already done in a Whale manner. So I think you can check it with the linter, but I think it's more like you should think twice whether to implement something that strict, like maybe this should be then it's on the IDE level where you work, or on the build level, which is much more stricter because some build will drop. So this is more about process question, but like to check yourself, you can use Veil linter locally, for example, which is, I believe, should have syntax for all of these rules. Maybe I will invest some time and make some rules based on these particular scientific things, which would have been good to do for the conference.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all looking at ways, as technical writers or people who write the docs, ways to make it more consistent and stay on style and on tone in our docs. So if there's ways that we can get that done and let the robots do the work, or some of it at least, so that we can focus on the part of information architecture and that sort of other disciplines of technical writing. I think Veil actually is a good suggestion there, Felicity, in the chat. And the Veil is both a prose linter, but also a style linter as well. And it's fully open source and worth checking out. I know I use Grammarly Business, and where I work at Squiz, which has style guides as well that you can apply and customize. So there's a couple of ways you can go around that now at the moment. So yeah, definitely check those out. I think that might be all we have time for now. So if you've got any other questions for Hari and Lana, hopefully you can hang around for just a little bit for the next part of day one of Write the Docs, which is actually the social event. So I've got a little bit more information for you on that, because we're using a platform called Spatial Chat. You're probably wondering, well, hang on, with a social event, you have to be, in a room, you're moving around, it's sort of very interactive. Spatial Chat sort of solves that problem in a virtual sense. So the links to the social event platform spatial chat are going to be shared out shortly. So when you click on that link, the first thing you'll do is you'll be asked to share your audio visuals, so your webcam and your audio, because it's very much a visual and audio based platform, this one. And what you'll find is that when you enter the space, you'll click the join space button, and then you'll see 3 rooms. There's going to be a garden, a lounge, and a lobby. So think of the rooms as like a bit of a virtual manifestation of the real world. So just like in the real world, you can sort of move between the rooms at will, and you use your mouse and your keyboard to do that. And as you sort of drift in and out of the rooms, the audio sort of like gets a little bit louder and louder until you're right in the conversation. And then as you leave it, it sort of drifts off and you can sort of move around to the other areas. And the same thing happens when you sort of move between zones. So if you don't want to be in any zone at all, you just want to have a breather for a bit, you can just be outside of any of those 3 zones, and you'll find that you're just sort of there by yourself. So you'll get used to it as you sort of play around with the platform. So definitely have a go, come and join us, have a chat, even if it's not for long. And come along and say hello and meet the other conference attendees. And who knows, you might, in the discussions that you have tonight at the social platform, you might get inspired to do a lightning talk tomorrow about something that it sparked your interest or that you've realized people would like to know more about. So I hope you can join us. And there's a link right there. Thank you very much, Swapnil. And with that said, I think we might close off for the day. Thanks everyone for coming along. Thank you to all the speakers today. It's been wonderful hearing from you. And we get to share your wisdom and experience. And I will see you over in the spatial chat.